We are sentient, right? We have complete awareness of our surroundings, and we are on the hierarchy of the food chain. We are a predator.
Thinking that, maybe a meal that might last half an hour and then you completely forget about versus something that could live for 10 or 20 years is really self-centered.
Today I'm in the French Quarter interviewing people about this quote. Whenever you find yourself on the side of the majority, it's time to pause and reflect.
I don't understand the question.
Well, you need to at least ask yourself, what is the minority thinking and what are the questions that they're bringing up? Why are you part of the majority? It's probably the ultimate question that you have to ask yourself to really, get anywhere deeper.
I think a lot of people's views are skewed by what other people are thinking, so you should rethink if what you're saying is just to agree with other people or if what it's actually what you believe in.
Can you think of any times, either throughout history or maybe even a personal example, where people were kind of going along with the majority and have been wrong?
I think it happens all the time. You could talk about it politically, you could talk about it economically, you could talk about it socially.
I also like to talk about kind of broader society things we're in Jackson Square, right, where slavery used to be the norm. Do you think people back then, they would have disagreed that there was a moral problem with slavery? Do you think they were just too blinded by culture or what?
I think it's an issue like how we use prison labor, which is slave labor, and no one bats an eye. It doesn't feel like a moral issue now, but maybe 100 years from now, it will be a moral issue.
One of the biggest moral blind spots that I see in our society is the way that humans treat animals. What do you think about that?
I think that there's definitely some work that needs to be done. Now, I will say, my name is Hunt. I hunt and fish, and so I think that, some examples of factory farming are terrible. If someone were to come at me and say, hey, the deer that you killed at your hunting camp, that you cleaned, that you cooked, that you handled, that you fed for years, that's a bad thing.
What do you think about the way humans treat animals?
I think it's horrible. I think factory farms, as soon as you do your research, it's terrifying how awful we treat animals, that a lot of people keep in their homes as pets, but a different animal that could be smarter or more emotionally intelligent is treated like a commodity rather than a living thing.
That type of hunting and that type of meat eating to me is probably the most humane, because I'm hunting with a crossbow a lot of times, I'm hunting with low caliber rifles, and I have a great deal of respect, and it's not like you can just go package and buy a deer. You have to, you understand the gruesomeness of what you're doing, and you understand how special that animal is ultimately. So there's definitely ways to improve in society, though. I would be lying if I didn't say that.
And you think they definitely should not be treated as commodities?
Oh, of course not. I think they have feelings just like we do. You wouldn't treat your fellow man like the way we treat pigs in factory farms. It's horrible.
I guess I'm curious, because I've heard a lot of hunters say that, and I guess the thing I never really understood was how is killing respectful to an I would never say that about a dog or a cat. So why say it about a deer? Could you explain that to me I'm 5?
It's not that killing is respectful, it's that I have a respect for the animal.
The killing isn't respectful, but you have respect for the animal.
So in fact, I would say the killing is morbid. I mean, until someone's come up to me, I've spine shot deers before. And had to slit their throats, right? Okay, so there's nothing that, in a way, it's a morbid act. You don't want to do it, but I'm also not going to let that deer suffer, and I'm going to eat that deer, and I'm going to provide for my family, and it is part of the food chain, and it is the hierarchy that we exist in. We are humans, and I treated that deer as best as I could, and I gave it a chance. I didn't cage it in like a lot of hunters that have hunting properties with high fences that the deer can't escape. My land is connected to the national forest.
What percentage of animal products in the U.S. currently do you think come from factory farms?
I say about almost 100, maybe 98 or 7, or it's big business.
Yeah, it's 99%, so you're pretty much right.
Farming in general is pretty unethical, but I'd rather support small businesses than big businesses.
There are people that don't have a lot of money, for example, that meat is the best alternative to get a lot of those 21 amino acids. Red meat is one of the only foods that has 21 amino acids that are natural. You can get a lot of protein from beans and other things, and you can supplement like Tom Brady, and he does a fantastic job. The problem is, to be that type of person, you have to have a lot of money generally.
Do you consume animal products then?
I do. I know that's kind of hypocritical, but what can you do?
Most vegans are actually not rich. When you kind of look at countries and GDP, the higher their GDP goes, the higher their meat consumption goes.
Can I ask you a question?
Let me just finish this point. When you compare plant-based diets to omnivore diets, they come out around 30% cheaper. The only thing you have to supplement is B12, which is important.
Iron.
No, you don't have to supplement iron. Right. Well, everyone should be eating right. You could say a meat eater needs to supplement iron, they could be low in iron as well. What was your question going to be?
I was going to say, how long have you been a vegan, though?
Yeah, I've been vegan about 2 years.
So
and
you're on the tip of the journey.
Everybody has their journey.
Right? The beginning of the journey, because you know, a lot of vegans that I've talked to were vegans for, you know, one of my coworkers, he was a vegetarian and trying to be vegan, but the problem is not after 2 years you're going to start seeing that you do need some fats and some amino acids that you get from animals eventually, because your body you'll feel worse. Even if you think that you're getting everything you are and you're getting your protein, your carbs, your fats, you know, humans are ultimately not herbivores. We are omnivores. We have the canines and the teeth to prove it, and so your body's used to regulating and running on some meats, on some types of other, you know, it's not just like we can eat just plant products and be completely healthy.
Do you think there is anything you could do?
I could go vegan, which is a step in the right direction. Trying to become pescatarian and stair-step it, because I think it's a lot harder to become vegan right out the gate and go from pescatarian to only white meat, or vice versa to completely vegan, which is what I'm progressing towards.
Tom Brady, if you look at his diet, the reason that he's doing so good is because he's getting, you know...
Tom Brady eats fish like every day, so I don't think he is vegan.
He's definitely, well, he was vegan. If he's turned pescatarian, that's actually news to me. That's actually news.
I'm pretty sure he is, and you know, no one has the money to be like Tom Brady. I guess I do want to just correct a few things there. So like, a lot of people do think that you need certain things from animal products, but I've never seen evidence to show that, and there is quite a lot of evidence that shows that you don't need animal products.
I mean, what? I gotta ask you, do you think I'm not a healthy person? Like, I eat meat all the time.
I'm not saying you're not healthy. What I'm saying is that there are vegans who have been vegan for 40, 50 years who are healthy. So how can you explain them if we need animal products?
And that's really great. And if they have achieved that goal and they've been vegans for 40, 50 years, that is an excellent goal. And, you know, I would say it's a very difficult goal to achieve, to be a healthy vegan. And I'd like to see, you know, especially if there are guys, their physical statures and how they're actually doing. Because I know some vegetarians that are in great shape. I don't know many vegans that are in great shape.
I'm going to give you resources and like a 30-day vegan challenge that you can sign up for. Yeah, and it makes it really easy. They have like recipes and things like that. Do you think like your parents would be supportive?
I'm not sure, but if the people around you don't support you, you need to find new people.
There's this great movie called Game Changers. It kind of goes through a lot of professional athletes and bodybuilders, and one of the strongest men in the world, he's been vegan for 10 years.
Do you know his name?
Patrick Booboman. And then there's Nimai Delgado. He's never had meat in his life.
Yeah.
He's been vegan maybe 5 or 6 years. He was a vegetarian before that. He's won a bunch of bodybuilding competitions. He looks great.
Sure.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Why, in your mind, why should someone like me, a hunter who gets, and a fisherman who gets a lot of their protein probably every year from fishing themselves or hunting themselves, cleaning the animals, why would someone like me who's happy with my diet, who's healthy, who's strong, why would I want to switch to being a vegan? Because to be honest with you, it's the cheapest thing by far. To use the natural land that I have.
If you're like hunting, yeah.
I mean,
but so what I would say to that is that I think that we should consider animals morally. What do you think about that? Like, do you think that we should treat animals, you know, kindly and not kill them when we don't have to?
Do I think animals are on the same
No, that's
plain. No, I know, but this is the question you have to ask yourself. If yes, you treat animals morally, no one wants to go kick a puppy, right? But am I going to treat an animal that I'm killing for its nutrients and its meat the same way that I'm going to treat my house pet? Absolutely not. They have two different purposes completely.
What do you think is more important, like taste pleasure you would get from eating an animal product or animals' lives?
I would say animals' lives. Thinking that, you know, maybe a meal that might last half an hour and then you completely forget about versus something that could live for 10 or 20 years is really self-centered.
Who is it to us to say what their purpose is? Like, should we look through their individual experience? Because if you say
Absolutely not.
And why not?
Well, that's because we are on the highest point of the food arc. If you look at any food chain in all of history, that deer is going to get eaten by some animal. And we are lucky, by the way, to be humans and have this conversation. We are sentient, right? We have complete awareness of our surroundings, and we are on the hierarchy of the food chain. We are a predator.
If you could live a life where you intentionally harmed humans, intentionally harmed animals, or neither, what would you choose?
Neither.
And being vegan would be closer to that goal?
Of course.
You know, when you say that kind of thing, it's kind of saying, like, just because we can dominate other species, like, does that necessarily mean we should? And you said that humans are sentient. Are animals sentient?
Well, to answer that question, you'd have to define sentience. If you're saying that an animal can produce conjoining thoughts and express subject matters, and I mean, sure, animals have natural reaction, but are they sentient in the way that they can produce technology? Are they sentient in the way that they are actually smart? No, you could program almost any animal. As a computer, I'm a software engineer. As a software engineer, I could program almost any animal behavior as a computer. We cannot begin to fathom and program human interaction and human behavior and the intelligence that comes with that. We're just completely, and that's the part of, you know, I mean, we are completely different from all other animals ever, and I think that's so cool.
We definitely have differences, I guess.
We're completely
I would
different.
say,
it's not even close.
Sure.
Look at our conversation. We're talking to a phone that is sending Bluetooth packets to and from a microphone.
No, here, let me finish. I'm not about to disagree with you
Sure,
there. I'm
sure.
saying that intelligence shouldn't determine moral value, because we
I
could find
agree.
humans who are not intelligent.
100%.
Should we start eating them because they're not intelligent?
Giovanna's waiting in the car for us.
Waiting in the car for us?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. I really appreciated this conversation.
Yeah.
I'll give you a card if you want to
Yeah, let's,
email me. I
I'd
would
love
love to connect further.
For sure. No,
Yeah.
definitely.
Thank you
It's
so
a pleasure. Thank you all for watching. Maybe some more talk soon.
Thank you for watching today. If you enjoyed this, please hit that like button. Special thanks to my morally superior patrons, Amy, Andy, Deepak, and Rebecca.